All right, this is the last section of your review. We're going to talk about, so we're going to do 50 through 60. So if you pull up your review, so when I'm done with this and I upload, guys, you have 60 questions that look very similar to what you're going to see tomorrow in your exam. There's 35 questions total, multiple choice, all of it, and you can use the calculator. So as we go through here, any questions you have, you guys need to let me know. But if you are asked to write an equation for a line given a point and a slope, right? This is given a point and a slope. So we would use our point slope form. This is our point slope form. Y minus y1, whatever the y is that they give you, and then slope times x minus x1. So in this case here, for number 50, they gave me a point of -2, -12, right? Yes? And a slope of 7. So all we're going to do is just plug into our formula. So it's y minus, what is the y part that they gave me? So y minus -12 equals 7 times x minus what? -2. So now we just go through. 2 negatives gives you a positive, yes? So I have y plus 12 equals, if I distribute this, it's 7x plus 14. Questions?
What do you do to 12?
Hold on. Let's get this into y equals mx plus b. So what do I do to both sides? I want to get y by itself. So subtract 12. So you have y equals 7x plus what? Plus 2. If your answer choices, I'm not saying they will be, but if your answer choices are written like this, this is called standard form. If you guys got this answer, but then all your answer choices were in standard form, where it went x, then y, then the constant, you should be able to see that the top one and the bottom one are the exact same. Do you guys see that? Because if you move it to the other side of the equal sign, it becomes negative. So just be aware of that. All right, if I look here, 51, equation of the line passing through, well, they gave me 2 points. So in 51, can somebody look, please, and just tell me, what are the 2 points that they gave me? What is it, -1, 2, and 3, -4. All right, if I have point slope form, I need to have a point, which I do, and I also have to have what? Slope. Do I have information that can give me the slope?
Yeah.
Yes. y2 minus y1, right? These are my x's, these are my y's.
Yeah.
So let's say -4 minus 2 over 3 minus -1. Agreed? Yes? Yeah. -4 minus 2 is -6.
Over 2.
3 plus 1 is 4. So I have a slope of -3 over 2. Agreed? Okay, so now I'm going to write an equation of a line using the point and the slope. You can use either point you want. I'm going to use the top one because the numbers are smaller. If you use the bottom one, you get the same answer. So we would have y minus 2 equals -3 over 2 times x minus -1. Agreed? Okay. So my 2 minuses become a plus. So I have y minus 2 equals, if I distribute, I have -3 over 2x minus 3 over 2. Agreed? And what's the last thing I'm going to do? How do I get y by itself? I'm going to add 2. Guys, when you add 2, this is a fraction. I understand that. But you also have a calculator. If I have 2 over 2, if I have 2 over 1, and I change it to seconds, to 2s, what does that become? 4 over 2, right? If I change 2 over 1 to seconds, I multiply 1 times 2 is 2, so I multiply the top. 2 times 2 is 4. So what this now says is -3 plus 4, which is?
1.
So positive 1/2.
Are you going to give us the formulas?
No.
None of them?
Nope.
None of the 1800 right now?
Yeah, 1800, yep.
Oh,
Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. I think we're talking about parallel and perpendicular here, right? All right, write the equation of the line passing through this point that is parallel. Guys, when I see the word parallel, what do I write? What do I think of? What word? Same. Very good. So I'm going to find the slope given this equation that they gave me. How do I do that? Good. Minus x from both sides. So you have 3y equals negative x plus 15. Now what? Divide everything by 3. So what is the slope here? Negative 1/3. Good. So right now, if you had a multiple choice, you could go through and you could eliminate anything where the slope is not what? Negative 1/3. So now all you do is take negative 1/3 and this point that they gave you, and let's write an equation. So I have y, what's minus a negative? Plus, right? Y plus 6 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 12. So I have y plus 6. If I distribute, I have negative 1/3 x. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. And then what happens when I have a negative 1/3 times negative 12? Becomes positive what? What's 12 divided by 3? 4. And then what's the last thing I'm going to do? Subtract 6. So you have y equals negative 1/3 x. What's 4 minus 6? Negative 2. Right there. The biggest thing is when they say parallel or perpendicular, because parallel means same. So you find the slope of the line that they give you, and then use point slope form. Use the same exact slope. Here, they tell you they want something that's what? Perpendicular means opposite, reciprocal. Okay, I want to do something a little different than what they gave you here. I'm going to say, let's change this to y equals 1/5 x plus 2. If I want the perpendicular slope, guys, what's the perpendicular slope to 1/5 x? What kind of 5? Nope. Opposite reciprocal means we switch the signs. 1/5 is positive, so I make it what? Negative. And I flip 1/5, it becomes what? 5/1. So our reciprocal slope, check, make sure. Is it the flipped over version? Yes. Is one of them positive, one of them negative? Yes or no? Yes. So take this point here that they gave us and use the slope, negative 5. So y minus 9 equals negative 5 times x minus 17. All right, we might have a big number here, but guess what? What are y'all allowed to use? Calculator. So I have y minus 9 equals negative 5x times, what? Not times, plus, negative 5 and negative 17 is what? 85. And then what's the last thing I do? Add the 9. So you get y equals negative 5x plus what? 94. Big numbers. Who cares? But the biggest thing, guys, the biggest thing is when you see the word parallel, you think same slope. When you see perpendicular, you think what? Opposite, reciprocal. Good. All right. If we're evaluating piecewise, most of you got this when we did this, but some of you really had a tough time. What this is telling you to do, it's telling you to evaluate the piecewise function for whatever number they give you. But you have to first figure out which piecewise function you're going to use. Think about negative 5. Look at my two parameters. Is negative 5 less than or equal to 7? Or is it bigger than 7? Less than or equal to. So I'm going to use x squared plus 5x. I'm going to take my negative 5 and plug it into that expression. After I figure out which expression to use, guys, nothing else matters. You don't go back when you get an answer and plug it back into anything. That is your answer. So negative 5 squared is 25, right? Yes? Okay. Plus, what's 5 times negative 25? Negative 5. Negative 25. So when I plug in negative 5, what answer do I get out? 0. So your answer here is 0. That's it. Now I look at the next question. They want me to evaluate the piecewise, but where x is 7. So which equation or expression am I going to use? Is 7 less than or equal to 7 or 7 bigger than 7? Less than or equal to. So I'm going to use x squared plus 5x. So x squared plus 5x. They want me to plug in 7. So I have 49, right? 49 plus 35. What's 49 plus 35? 83. Okay, you were close, yes, but close isn't going to cut it. All right, now I look at 10. I want to evaluate where x is 10. Well, where does that fall? Is 10 less than or equal to 7, or is 10 bigger than 7? God bless you. Which one? Is 10 bigger than 7 or less than or equal to? Bigger. So I'm going to use what? 7x. So 7 times 10 is 70. There's absolutely no excuse for getting those wrong.
It's 84.
Is it?
49 and 35.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was counting 3. My bad.
Don't doubt me.
How could I? I'm so sorry, Christian. You are always right in everything that we do.
Of course.
My bad. Thank you for telling me, guys.
Hot back. Nah. Let the world know.
You were right. Fantastic. Oh, stop. Be nice. Be nice. Stop. Be nice. All right, guys. This one tends to give us a little bit of an issue. There will be one of these on your test. So let's just pay attention to what I'm doing. What are they asking you to do here? Looks like there's a lot going on. What are they asking you to do?
Give your answer as 2 expressions.
Okay, they're asking you to distribute. I agreed. What are they telling me? They want me to take this expression and plug it in wherever I see an x. Then they want me to take this expression and plug it in where I have an x, and they want me to subtract the 2. This can get a tiny bit messy. If I were you, I would not at all look at the answer choices. I would just work this out. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write the first part. 2 times, instead of x, what's the first thing in green they want me to plug in? So I have a plus h squared, and then finish the problem. Plus 5, right? That's my first little part. Then I say minus, and what do they want me to plug in the second time? Just a. So I have 2a squared plus 5. Everybody agree with me? Okay, so then I have, this is all over h. So now it's just a whole bunch of simplifying. I'm going to do the first part first.
Distribute that 2.
Not yet. And do this 2. I have 2 times. What does a plus h quantity squared mean? A plus h times a plus h, and then I still have plus 5. So all I'm going to do is just the pink. I'm just going to keep going down, simplifying. So I'm going to FOIL. A times a is? So I have a squared. What's a times h? Plus ah. What's h times a? Ah. What's h times h? H squared, and then I have plus 5. Now I can clean this up. I have 2 ah's, right? And then I distribute the 2, Christian. So I have 2a squared, right? Plus 4ah plus 2h squared. Then what? Plus 5. And then I just gonna go back up here. This is minus. I can't I can't combine anything here. So what do I have to do with this negative sign? Distribute it. So then I have minus 2a squared minus 5. And all of this is over what letter? Okay. Say that for the end. Now we can combine like terms. All right, what happens to my a squareds? They cancel out. 2a squared minus 2a squared. What else cancels out?
5.
Positive 5 and negative 5. So what am I left with on top? 4ah plus 2h squared all over what? H. And there's one more thing I can do. What do they have? What's the common factor on the bottom? I mean on the top, an h, right? So I have 4a plus 2h all over h. And then what happens to the h's? Cancel out. Now, I am realistic. I know that most of you, when you get to this problem, are going to do what?
Skip it.
You're going to skip it. And then once you come back to it, what are you going to do? You're going to guess. Most of you are going to do that. That's a lot of work right there. I understand that. It's not hard, though. So if you get to that problem and you're like, ugh, skip it. work on everything else, and then at the end, you'll have time. Come back and actually try it so you can at least try and narrow the answer choices down. Don't just randomly guess in the middle. That's just silly. Can you see? Okay. All right, a question like this is just a thinking question. It says, find the domain of the following function, 5x plus 17. Okay, first of all, are there any domain restrictions? Is there a variable in the denominator? No. Is there a square root? Is there a square root in a denominator? No. So I could, if I wanted to do this, I could plug in any single number in the entire world, right? Negative infinity, positive infinity. But they're telling you what the domain is right here. They just want you to write it in interval notation. What are they telling you can use? Numbers from where to where? Negative 13 to where? 17. Okay, if you don't see that, draw a little picture. Put negative 13 on your graph and put 17. What kind of a dot do you have at negative 13? Close. It's got equal to. What kind of a dot do you have at 17? Close. It's equal to. And where do they want all the values? In between. So how would you guys write that in interval notation? Bracket, negative 13, comma, 17, and then what? Bracket. That is not a trick question. That's all they're asking you to do. They want to make sure that you understand that it's in between that you're looking at. How else? What's another clue that they want all this stuff in between, not on the outsides? X is where? In the middle. It's in between. Good. All right. Find the domain here. What immediately, guys, is your problem? Variable where? In the denominator. Are you allowed to have 0 in the denominator? No. So we got to figure out what's going to make this 0. How do I solve this? Add 6 to both sides. So 3x 6, divide by 3, right? X can be any number in the entire world except for 2. How would I write in interval notation, X can be anything in the whole entire world except for 2? Negative infinity. 2, good. Can I include 2? No, can't be 2, so it's just a parenthesis. Then what? Union, good as well. 2 to what? Perfect. Good. Good. All right, good job. Almost. All right, what's the problem here? Go through our rules. Is there a variable in the denominator? Yes or no? No. Is there a square root? Yes. That means my number has to be positive or it can be 0. So it has to be greater than or equal to what? 0. So how do I solve this? Square both sides. You have 1 minus x squared greater than or equal to 0. Now what? Get x by itself. Come on. Minus 1. Negative x squared greater than or equal to negative 1. Now what? Ryan, you with me? Now what? How do I solve this? Negative x squared greater than or equal to negative 1. Not yet. Yep, you got to divide by negative 1. When I divide by negative 1, what happens to my inequality sign? You flip it. If you did not do that, guys, then your answer would be wrong. And then now what do we do? Square root. So I'd get plus or minus what? What's the square root of 1? 1. If you're going to write that in interval notation, all right, let's think about this. They're telling you that x is less than or equal to positive 1, right? And x is less than or equal to negative 1, right? What kind of dots do I have at either place? Close, both. So the first one, x is less than or equal to 1. Well, where does that go? Which way? Left. X is less than or equal to -1. Which way does that go? So that means you can use every number in the world from negative infinity to what? To which one? To +1. Can I use +1? I know that because if I plugged 1 in here, what's 1 squared? 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. What's the square root of 0? Yep, you're good. All right, now before you guys freak out about this, go through the rules. Is there a variable in the denominator? No. Is there a square root? No, that's not a square root. That's a cube root. Can you take the cube root of a negative number? Yes. What's the cube root of -8? What number times itself 3 times gives you -8? -2. If it's an odd root, guys, it can be negative or positive. It doesn't matter. So what's my interval notation here? Can I plug in a negative number and get a negative cube root? Yes. Can I plug in 0? Yes. Can I plug in a positive number and get a cube root? Yes. If it's an odd root, what is your interval notation? Negative infinity to positive infinity. It only matters is if it's a square root or an even root. All right, if we're talking about domain and range, this is the last one, and we're done. Domain is what? X values. We read X from left to what? Right, good. Range is what values? Y values. And we read range from bottom to what? To the top. So my domain, I'm going to look just at the x-axis. So I'm going to draw an arrow here and an arrow here. My domain. From left to right, I can use what numbers? From where to where?
-8 to 6.
That's not 8. -7 to what? +6. And what goes on either end? Why? Because the dots are closed. So my range is going to go from the bottom. What's the lowest this graph hits? -4. And what's the highest this graph hits? +4. Is it open or closed? You guys can tell me, well, there's no dots. Guys, does the function exist right there? Yeah, that means there's a dot. So what's on either end? Brackets. Good. All right, that's it. You guys have everything you need in order to be successful on this midterm. You have 4 videos. You have every problem on your midterm worked out. You have anything, old notes, any of my old videos from before. If you guys, there's something that you look back on and you're like, oh man, I kind of don't remember this. It's a little bit of everything. It's not focused one more on this section than on this one. It's just a little bit of everything. So just make sure you guys are going over it. And I ask you tomorrow, you have an hour and 45 minutes to do 35 questions. That is more than enough time. You just have to take your time. If you take the entire time, good for you. There's no extra credit for finishing first. This is 20% of your grade, so make sure that you come in and you try your best. Okay? Hayden, question, babe?